The families of victims of the 1 October shooting will soon get payouts from the shooter's $1 million estate. The property owned by the shooter has been sold and nearly 50 guns were destroyed or taken out of circulation by the FBI. That's according to an attorney in a state hearing held today. That money from selling the shooter's assets is worth about $1.2 million, and it's going to 61 families of those who were killed. Probate attorney Alice Denton, who worked on the case pro bono, said each family will receive just under $20,000. Those checks could be mailed out in the coming weeks. The gunman's mother signed over her right to the money.